Well, this is definitely going to upset the anti-gun community. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by PAN Firearms LLC. PAN Firearms for your NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343, or you can use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the box below. But let's talk about this. In what could be, in some terms, a sense of irony, Ukrainian president has called to arms to the civilian population and has been giving them weapons to defend the country against the incursion by the Russian forces.
In a former school building in southeast Ukraine, military officers are training local residents in urban warfare.
Ну, это то, о чем надо было договариваться с самого начала.
Ми їх більше навчаємо тактики ведення бою в приміщенні, тобто відпрацювання захвату всієї будівлі. Вони займаються своїм життям, працюють на заводах, працюють вчителями, економістами, бухгалтерами. Але якщо нам знадобиться і ці люди прийдуть до нас захищати нашу країну, вони вже будуть знати, що їм робити. Дивись, пази. Завод, ось. Ні. Давай тобі раз покажу.
Ти собирала.
The Ukrainian government aims to recruit around 130,000 civilians to bolster its defense if a war with Russia breaks out. The military will rely on them to fight. For some of these civilians, this is the first step in becoming part of what the government calls the Territorial Defense Force.
На ощупь, все руками, в темноте, освещение слабое, должен все...
Все правильно, все верно.
Именно память руками должна быть, чувствовать, где пота, где защелкнуло, где на место
Можно
стал.
опять достать и поставить.
Так точно. Це гражданська людина, вона повинна руками ощутити, щоб ця деталь повинна працювати тільки так. З другого разу вже краще.
Запропонували з дітьми пройти, тому я вважаю, що мій син повинен розуміти, в чому справа йде військова. Приїхали і все подобається.
Сьогодні будемо проводити заняття з вогневої підготовки. Стріляти будемо на інтерактивному тирі з АК-74 та лазером.
Volunteers also learn how to apply first aid and to identify explosives.
Противопехотная заградительная мина ОЗМ-72. Одно из самых подлых творений Советского Союза. В радиусе 30 метров не остается живым ничего, даже мыши. Потому что в ней 2400 осколков.
Я работаю на заводе «Азовсталь», я технолог. Я здесь, потому что у меня молодая жена и 2 детей. Это моя страна, и я готов ее защищать. Как гранату бросить еще со школы знаю, а на практике еще вообще ничего не использую. Где-то, может, волнение присутствует, но я думаю, что я с ним справлюсь, когда будет на мой город направляться враг.
Мне кажется, человек невозможно быть подготовленным. Поэтому всегда и учимся. Ситуации бывают разные.
While untested in battle, these men and women are determined to defend their city.
Дякую, що знайшли час. Ніхто у нас не травмувався, що немаловажно. Слава Україні! Героям слава!
From the website, The Daily Caller, titled, "We will give weapons to anyone. Ukrainian president issues defiant call to arms." I wonder if they have to get a permit or wait 14 days. But Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky issued a call to arms amid the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine, urging Ukrainian citizens to join efforts to repel Russian forces. "We will give weapons to anyone who wants to defend the country," Zelensky tweeted early Thursday. "Be ready to support Ukraine in the squares of our cities." Zelensky's comments followed the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine as Russian military forces entered the country and launched airstrike on key targets. There's his tweet: "We will give weapons to anyone who wants to defend the country. Be ready to support Ukraine." Zelensky declared martial law in Ukraine late Wednesday as the invasion announced by Russian President Vladimir Putin moments before military operations began was already underway. He acknowledged that Russian forces were carrying out airstrikes on critical infrastructure, communication centers, and military locations. The Ukrainian president also announced that Ukraine had severed diplomatic ties with Russia, and he urged Russians to protest their government's actions. In another very interesting article from Breitbart, a well-regulated militia. Where have I heard that before? Okay. Ukraine gave guns to citizens to defend our country. Ukrainian government will give weapons to anyone who wants to defend the country, it has said in the aftermath of Russian expanding its war in the country's eastern territory. Amid reserve forces being mobilized and sent to fight the expanding Russian occupation of Ukraine's eastern territories, the Kiev government is taking steps to dramatically increase the supply of available fighters, promised to hand weapons to anyone willing to take up arms in defense of the nation. Joining the resistance is simply two, the government says. All you need is your passport and a willingness to fight. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky made the call on Thursday morning, hours after Putin announced his forces would be entering the Ukraine territories it had declared to be independent republics, using the alleged widespread presence of neo-Nazis in the region as a pretext for military action. Once again, it's the same quote addressing the Ukrainian people. Zelensky said, "We will give weapons to anyone who wants to defend the country. Be ready to support Ukraine in the square of our cities." And you're pretty much going to go through the same spiel that was on the other articles, but obviously we're focusing on the fact that Ukraine is now mobilizing a civilian army and arming them with assault weapons. Kind of ironic. But what's most interesting is that the same basic anti-gun groups here in the United States, who not years ago were calling people stupid, morons, for owning an AR-15 and had no reason to own it whatsoever, they now seem to be changing their tune in this matter. We go to this article here from Twitchy. Occupy Democrats are big supporters of a heavily armed citizenry in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin's Russian military forces continue their invasion of Ukraine, and Occupy Democrats are cheering. A bit of news about how the Ukrainians are being assisted when it comes to fighting back. There's a couple of tweets here. Breaking: Ukrainian military minister announced that 10,000 automatic rifles have been handed out to the civilians of Kiev as they prepare to fight tooth and nail to defend their homes against Putin's invasion. RT: if you stand with the brave Ukrainian people. And then there's a number of people up here. Here's a pizza shop owner who's giving out free pizzas to any Ukrainian who shows they have a gun to fight the Russians, which means they're going to have to walk into this guy's shop with a gun. Okay. If you're an American who supports the Kiev pizza shop owner who's given free food to any Ukrainian who shows they have a gun to fight the Russians, please RT and follow our account for latest breaking Ukrainian news. This is all from Occupy Democrats. Now I'm going to go down to here we get to the nuts and bolts of the story. Yes, if only, but at least it was nice to see Occupy Democrats recognize the importance of an armed citizenry. And here's the irony. Good morning to everyone, including the Dems, who just now realized that having an armed society is helpful and good when the bad guys come. Cactus Girl. Wait, so now you finally realize that civilians having guns is a good thing. Hooray. DPOWW. It's amazing to see you back civilians having military-style rifles to defend themselves in their country. Guns good for Ukraine, guns are good for the US. Orange still bad, Biden good. Democrats like guns now. this is a good one. This account cracks me up sometimes. An accidental endorsement for gun rights, for personal protection, and advocacy of the Second Amendment, or something. Dems cheering on the Second Amendment. Screenshot this. You'll need it later. Occupy Democrats aren't quite that big on American citizens having guns. All I had to do was 2 minutes of searching to find these gems. Congrats, you're a special kind of stupid. And Democrats now support assault rifles in the hands of civilians. Damn, they finally figured out that the Second Amendment what the Second Amendment actually means. Now, what they're referring to, of course, is, the internet is forever. So, Occupy Democrats, and this is dated June 14th, 2016. These are their words. No civilian needs an AR-15 regardless of whatever gymnastics you do. You're a special breed of stupid. Occupy Democrats. February 24th, 2022. Breaking. Ukraine's interior minister announces that 10,000 automatic rifles have been handed out to the civilians of Kiev as they prepare to fight tooth and nail to defend their homes against Putin's invasion. RT if you stand with the brave Ukrainian people. Now, of course, I don't have to point out the irony in this, as you see traditionally anti-gun groups now all of a sudden supporting the issuance of full automatic weapons to civilians. And as you saw in the video, they're going through training for urban warfare. You kind of scratch your head on this stuff. These people are cheering on the Ukrainian president for handing out automatic rifles to anyone who wants to defend the country, yet they have a problem with everyday Jim Bob having an AR-15 in their home. The whole point of the Second Amendment was exactly what is happening in Ukraine. Not only to defend against outside aggressors, but in the case of a tyrannical government or leadership taking control, the people have the right to defend themselves. There's always the argument, weapons of war, technology and what have you. Well, rights don't change because technology changes. We don't express our First Amendment rights on parchment paper with a quill. So I find it enlightening and interesting, to say the least. What we're seeing here, as not only the Ukrainians are defending themselves, and rightly so, but watching groups here literally defend this president as he's giving assault rifles to civilians to defend the country. I don't have to point out, for those of you who have a clear head and a logical mind, how damn ironic that is. The Second Amendment, as I've said before in other videos, Second Amendment is like the glue of the Bill of Rights, because you take away the right of the people to defend themselves, you also lose every other right. Think of it like this. Look at the way they treat us now. I'm talking about the American government as we've gone through different phases of leadership. But look how they're treating us now, and we're armed. Think about how they would treat us if we weren't. But let me know what you think. As always, leave your comments in the comment section below. As always, any calls to violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, and subscribe. We've got to give support to the people of Ukraine. They have every right to defend their country, regardless of how that country came to be. And I hope they come out of this on the right side of history. But I will see you on the next one. Peace.